They paid me millions to guard one grave for 30 years. But no one told me something inside it was still alive. And I think it finally got out. My name is Jack Harlan. 30 years ago, I was 25, fresh out of the Marines, dead broke. One night, an envelope appeared on my table. No return address. Inside, 10 grand in cash and a note that said, "Be at the old warehouse tomorrow at 10 p.m. Come alone." I went. Black van, 2 suits. I signed the papers. National security, treason if you talk. They told me straight. One object, never closer than 5 meters. Don't dig, don't touch, don't listen. 30 years, and you walk away rich with a new life. I laughed and asked, "What the hell is it?" They didn't smile. "Just a stone. But if anyone gets near it, you die first." What I'm about to tell you was never supposed to be recorded. If you're hearing this right now, it means they failed to contain it. They flew me out that same night to Black Site 17, a restricted patch of the Nevada desert that doesn't exist on any map. Everything around the grave had been bulldozed flat, except for one lonely gray headstone right in the center of a chain-link fence. The engraving was simple and cold. Subject 0, 1994. No birth date, no name, no Bible verse. Just those 2 lines that haunted me from the first second I saw them. They gave me a tiny concrete guard shack 20 meters away. Inside was a cot, a generator, a bucket for a toilet, and one small window that looked straight at the grave. Once a month, a supply truck would roll up, drop off food, water, and another fat envelope of cash. No conversation, no visitors, just me and that stone under the endless desert sky. The first year was almost peaceful in a weird way. It was too quiet. No birds, no coyotes, no wind that ever seemed to blow across that spot. Animals avoided the place like it was cursed. I set out traps every night and never caught a single mouse. I told myself this was the easiest money I'd ever make. But then year 2 hit, and everything changed forever. It started exactly at 3 a.m. every single night. I'd wake up to the sound of fingernails slowly dragging across the inside of a coffin lid. Scrr, scrr, scrr. It wasn't loud at first, but it was unmistakable. The ground under my boots would tremble just a little, like something down there was breathing, inhaling and exhaling in the dark. I radioed it in like a good soldier. 2 days later, a helicopter dropped 2 men in full white hazmat suits. They measured radiation levels, took soil samples, poked around with instruments I'd never seen before. When they were done, one of them pulled off his mask just enough to look me dead in the eyes and said, "Don't listen to it. Never answer it. That's not a man down there anymore. That's what was left after the Pentagon tried to create an immortal soldier back in 1994. They injected Subject 0 with some classified serum from the old Soviet-era programs we stole. He survived, but he stopped being human. We buried him alive because nothing we tried could actually kill him." I stood there frozen while the desert wind finally picked up around us. I asked what the experiment was really about. The man just smiled behind his mask and said, "The government wanted soldiers who couldn't die. They got something a lot worse instead." Then they climbed back into the chopper and left me there with the truth burning in my chest. By year 5, the thing under the stone wasn't just scratching anymore. It started talking. And the worst part? It spoke in my own voice, clear as day, rising up through the dirt like it was standing right behind me. It knew things no living soul on earth should have known. It whispered about the night my mother died and how I forgot to leave the hallway light on like she always begged me to. It described in perfect detail how I drowned that stray kitten in a bucket when I was 9 years old because I was angry at the world.
It even brought up the night in the Marines when I accidentally shot my best friend during a live fire exercise, and how I let the report say it was his fault. Every buried secret, every shame I thought I'd taken to my grave, it dug them all up and threw them in my face. Sometimes I feel like it's not under the grave anymore. Sometimes I feel like it's standing right behind me. I started drinking just to drown it out. I'd finish a bottle of cheap whiskey and pass out on the cot. But it knew exactly how much I'd had. Around 3 a.m., the voice would come again, calm and mocking. "Extra one tonight, Jack. Your hands are going to shake real bad tomorrow when the sun comes up." I tried to quit the job. I filed an official transfer request through the emergency channel they gave me. A week later, a single black SUV arrived. An inspector stepped out. No face I could remember, just cold eyes behind sunglasses. He looked at me and said flatly, "You can't leave anymore, Harlan. The contract is inside you now. Remember that mandatory shot they gave you the day you signed? That wasn't a vaccine. It was a chip. You walk more than 50 kilometers from this grave, and it activates what's already growing inside your body. You'll become exactly like what's down there." The fear after that conversation never left me. Year 10 was when I stopped sleeping for real. I'd only manage 15-minute naps before the dreams hit. Every single one was the same nightmare. I was lying inside a coffin, alive and screaming, while I, the current older me, stood over the open grave smiling like it was the best day of my life, slowly shoveling dirt onto my own face until I couldn't breathe. I'd wake up gasping, covered in sweat that smelled like wet earth. Then, one morning, I walked out and the headstone had changed. Subject 0 was completely gone. In its place, words had been scratched from the inside of the stone, pushing outward like something had clawed them there. "You're next." The letters were still wet, glistening like fresh blood, even though it hadn't rained in months. This is where everything went wrong. One night, at exactly 3 a.m., I couldn't take the scratching anymore. I pulled up the security camera feed on my laptop. What I saw made my blood run cold. The grave was empty. For exactly 3 minutes, the hole was wide open, and something pale and wrong had crawled out, dragging itself across the desert floor before the footage suddenly looped and the stone was back in place like nothing had happened. I watched that 3-minute gap over and over. I never told the government. I knew if I reported it, they'd eliminate me on the spot. The years from 15 to 25 all blurred together into one long nightmare. Shadows started appearing during the day. Soldiers in old U.S. Army uniforms walking between the Joshua trees. Every single one of them had a clean bullet hole through the head. One of them had my own face. The grass around the grave only grew at night, black and twisted, reaching toward my shack like hundreds of thin fingers trying to pull me in. My wife drove out for the last time after 13 years. She stood at the fence line shaking and said, "You don't smell like a man anymore, Jack. You smell like a grave." That same night, the phone rang, and I heard her voice on the line.
But it wasn't her. It was the thing speaking through her. It knows where the kids are, Jack. It knows everything. The yearly government checkups still came like clockwork, but the agents kept getting younger every time, like time itself was running backward for them. One fresh-faced kid who couldn't have been more than 20 pulled me aside before he left and whispered, "We don't control it anymore. It controls us now. You're the last anchor keeping it here." By year 28, I had completely broken. I stood 5 meters from the grave in the middle of the night and screamed at it out loud for the first time. "What the hell are you?" The answer came not from the ground, but from inside my own skull, deeper and colder than anything I'd ever heard. "I'm what comes after humanity." The Pentagon thought they buried me in 1994. Instead, they buried the future. I don't die. I spread. Through your dreams, through every camera that watches me, through you. Year 30. Today. The contract ends in exactly 3 hours. I'm standing closer than I've ever been, 5 meters from the grave for the first time in 30 years. The dirt under my boots feels warm, like body heat rising from below. The headstone has changed again. It now reads, Jack Harlan, 1996 to 2026. My exact birthday. Today's date. It laughs, not from underground anymore, but from inside my own head, echoing through my bones. You thought you were guarding me all this time? We buried you back in 1996 during the final test. You died on this range. This body you've been walking around in is just a rental. We gave you 30 years so you could get used to it, so you could become part of me. I feel something moving under my skin now. Thousands of tiny fingers scratching at my ribs from the inside, clawing their way out. The stone begins to rise straight up like a hatch door. Out steps me, 25 years old, smiling the same smile I had the day I signed those papers. My turn to stand guard, he says, reaching out his hand. Don't turn around, because it's already behind you.